Engage for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.
Well, hello and welcome to Engage for Success Radio with me, your host for today, Jo Moffat. Today is radio show number 616 and we are going to be exploring the topic of designing and establishing global talent development programs with somebody who has certainly got a great track record of doing that and is going to be able to share some of their insights, why you should do it, how they've done it, how it worked, and most importantly, what the kind of business rationale for this kind of activity is. I'll introduce this week's guest in a moment, but first of all, a little bit about Engage for Success and me as your host for today. So Engage for Success is a not-for-profit movement. We are the UK's leading voice on the topic of employee engagement. We're raising awareness and running events through area networks around the country, topic and sector specific thought and action groups, online events, and also through our website and through our weekly newsletter like this, which has now been publishing on a weekly basis. We've been broadcasting for over 11 years now, which is quite something. But Engage for Success develops research, publishes case studies, and shines a light on great practice. Most importantly, our annual UK Employee Engagement Survey and Benchmark Index, the 2025 report, was published earlier this summer and has uncovered all sorts of useful evidence and insights. So please make your way to engageforsuccess.org, where you can download that report along with numerous other case studies and publications and evidence, all free, no data walls, all there for you to use and make the best of in your day jobs. So that's Engage for Success. Talking of day jobs, we are all volunteers at Engage for Success, and we all have day jobs. So Engage for Success as a not-for-profit relies entirely on volunteers and their input and energy, of which I am one of many. I'm one of the regular hosts of Engage for Success Radio, and my day job is that as founder of specialist consultancy Woodreed, which I recently sold and has been rebranded as 7 Cs The Culture Consultancy, I'm very much involved still with that business, helping to carry on their work with clients, creating great places to work. So my interest is piqued by helping create high-performing cultures of engaged employees, all things employee engagement, employee experience, and of course, internal communication. So to today's topic and today's guest, as I said, show number 616, designing and establishing global talent development programs. And I'm very pleased to welcome to today's show David Frost. David is Group People and Organisational Development Director at Dole PLC. And I wanted to invite him to join today because I think that his story is one that our listeners are going to find really fascinating and useful. I saw David speak at Business Culture Connected in the autumn, and when he shared this case study, it is a prize-winning case study. So he's obviously doing something right, and I'm looking forward to hearing what that is. But first of all, welcome to the show, David.
Thank you very much, Jo. Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So before we get into a little bit about Dole and what you've done specifically there, I wonder if you can just tell our listeners a little bit about you and your professional journey that you've been on.
Certainly, yes. I actually started out completing a degree in manufacturing engineering way back in the 80s, so it feels like a long time ago. And I started my career as a graduate in manufacturing engineering. And was really working a lot there on systems, quality systems improvement and improving productivity. And I really became very quickly much more interested, I think, in the people and culture area, because I could see we were trying to work on improving processes and systems, but no matter what we did, and unless people were engaged, unless leaders were leading in an effective way and bringing people with them, none of the processes were really working. So that became the most critical area. So I then was very fortunate to be able to complete a master's degree at Loughborough University in quality and human resource management. That enabled me to move my career eventually into HR. And I've worked in various organisations, manufacturing, logistics. I've worked for Carlsberg, the brewing company, for a number of years and did a lot of work there in employee engagement across the group. And then into logistics, and then eventually into the food sector, into fresh produce. And I've been with Dole, where I am now, for coming up for 9 years. And I've been very fortunate having the opportunity to work across a global organisation in areas that I'm really passionate about.
Right, excellent, lovely. Well, we'll look forward to hearing some of that in a moment. I think when you talked about logistics, I think one of the organisations you work for was one of my favourite companies in terms of the name. It was the big red trucks, wasn't it? Norbert Dentressangle.
That's right. Yes. I started actually working for Christian Salverson at the beginning of that experience. We were acquired by Norbert Dentressangle, and I remember when we did all of the integration work. We actually did a recorded message on how to pronounce the name. So if you're not quite sure, you just phone this number and it just played it back to you.
Oh, I love it.
Try and help everybody.
Love it. Well, I meant back in the day, I would spend a considerable amount of my working day racing around the motorway systems of this country, and there were two trucking companies that you kind of did a bit of a I Spy spotting of, and one of them was Eddie Stobart, and the other one was Norbert, and the big red trucks. So it's certainly a name to conjure with, isn't it? For sure.
Is. That's right. That's right.
So from Norbert to Dole, tell us a little bit about who Dole are, because I think it's not to be unfair to them. It's not a name it's not a household name necessarily, is it?
Not in Europe, really. No, I mean, Dole as a business goes way back to pre-1900. The business today was an amalgamation of a company called Total Produce, which again goes back to pre-1900, specialising in importing, distributing fresh produce. And Dole Food Company, again, had a history pre-1900, started out growing pineapples in Hawaii and then bananas, and became a very, very well-established tropical fruit business, but with its main market really in the Americas and North America. So if you were going into a Walmart supermarket in the US, for example, the Dole name would be very much there and visible. It's a household brand, but not so much in Europe. So Dole Food Company and Total Produce came together a few years ago now, and we combined forces, if you like, to create Dole PLC.
Was that before you joined, David, or?
That was about a year and a half after I joined. So I joined with the Total Produce business, and then then this big change took place where we came together with Dole Food Company. We listed the combined business on the New York Stock Exchange, which is where we're listed now. And the business has its head office in Ireland, in Dublin. But we are a global business with significant footprint in the Americas and across Europe.
Right.
Selling the complete range of fresh produce products, from fruits, salads, vegetables, to retail, wholesale and food service customers.
Okay. And what sort of scale are we talking about? Obviously global manufacturer and grower still, did you say? Or
yes, we are a significant grower. So particularly in the areas of tropical fruit, so bananas and pineapples, we do grow other products as well. So we have a lot of growing operations in Central and South America.
Right.
And then we source product from all over the world all year round, so our customers could be supplied all year round with their fresh produce. So we employ 30,000 colleagues all over the world, and it's truly an international business and quite a decentralized model. So we have dedicated leadership teams and management teams in each of our operations. We have an integrated shipping fleet as well, so that enables us to bring our products that we grow in Central and South America up into North America, into Europe as well. So it's a real end-to-end supply chain.
Yeah, and therefore, so 30-odd thousand employees, really what a range of jobs they must be doing as well.
That's right. Yeah, everything from working in agriculture, literally in the fields, with the product, producing the product on the ground. So a huge amount of skill involved with that, and then through into our grading operations and warehousing operations, where product is sorted and graded in very large volume with a lot of automation as well in some of our operations, and then the product then is physically shipped via sea and road and so on, into our local distribution centres, and that's where again they can be packed. If it's bananas, they'll be ripened, ready for customers, and then shipped out to retailers or into our distribution chains.
Right, right. And so with that kind of size of workforce and that variety of roles, and some of them operational, some of them less so, um, it's quite a challenge from an HR perspective, isn't it, I guess?
Well, yes, it is. I mean, although I think that's why we're very clear about having our colleagues close to operations. So we've got HR teams working within each of our divisions who are really knowledgeable and very close to those areas, and that then can actually shape the HR services that are required locally.
Right.
And then what we've been working on then is creating an umbrella approach to supporting all of that, if you like, knitting that together
Hmm.
in a quite a diverse global operation. And then where we do run global programs, making sure that they are adding value. And
Yes.
that's obviously where it gets interesting to how do you do that in a complex business.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would talk us through then, the how you started to where what was the driver for beginning to think about a global talent development program? What was the challenge that was being faced that seemed to be the solution for?
Well, I joined the business almost 9 years ago, and it was actually into a new role. At the time, because of the way the business had operated very successfully, HR had really been focused within each of the operations. So
Hmm.
the board recognised that probably the time was right to bring some HR input, if you like, and oversight into the group operations. Partly because we needed to focus on succession for the future with our leadership
Hmm.
colleagues across the group, and to start to really just put in place some of the HR processes and activities that you would expect to see in a business of our scale. So I was very fortunate. My colleagues supported me and enabled me to go out into the business for the first few months. I travelled right across the group into all the operations, really to understand local culture
Hmm.
and the local operational needs, and also to understand what people would really value if we were going to do more work around the HR area across the group. So then I pulled together our first people strategy and
Hmm.
discussed that with our CEO initially. And one of the things that was really clear in that area was the whole focus on succession and talent pipeline for the
Hmm.
future. The
Hmm.
business at that point had grown up very successfully with a really experienced team of senior leaders. But of
Right.
course, naturally, people were beginning to think about at some point people might retire in the future, and we might see some changes purely because of that. So we had
Yes.
to get ready for that. So part of it was a need driven by succession, identifying our future senior leaders and developing them so they're going to be ready. And one of the things I noticed in the business was that as it had grown and evolved, our almost senior executives knew each other incredibly well. They knew each other's businesses really well because
Hmm.
they'd grown up with the business over the years.
Right.
And that seemed to be really valuable and really important so people could support each other.
Hmm.
And one of the opportunities for us was to try and create that understanding and those relationships with the next generation of leaders. But of course, that's more challenging in a much larger, diverse organization. That was one of the drivers, anyway.
Mm.
And the other area we discussed was what would really add value. That's one of my questions. What would really add value from our people strategy? And that was actually to create a, a higher degree of collaboration, if you like, around the group, so that when we had group-wide initiatives, that we could have people working together from different perspectives, from different parts of the group,
Hmm.
to look at common challenges or common opportunities across the group, but working together in teams from across the group. And we'd never really done that in a significant way. So it was
Right.
finding a vehicle that would enable us to do all of those things in a joined up way. So
and with those people who might not even know each other, they might never have met, they might not even know they exist.
Yes, and actually really importantly that we actually really didn't want them to know each other. You know, we wanted to bring people together who hadn't got established relationships so they could build those relationships for the future, and also bring a different perspective to some of the strategic opportunities and challenges that we have in the business. So that was really part of it.
Right. So you said that when you joined and when you were beginning to think around all of this stuff, you were fortunate enough to actually travel around and really get under the skin of what was going on locally within the organisation around the world. But obviously that sort of isn't always going to be possible for everybody. So presumably technology helped you think about how you might begin this, did it, David? I mean, where did you begin with trying to address this?
It's really interesting, actually, isn't it? So how life has changed in a way.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking back to almost 9 years ago, I actually, the vast majority of my time getting to know people was face to face. So it literally was on a plane and on a train and
clocking up the air miles.
Clocking up the air miles and being face to face. But also that was really important, of course, because I was new in the organisation, and building personal relationships was really important, and seeing things on the ground was really important. But interestingly enough, actually, when we designed the key talent program that you were referring to when you did the introduction, this program that we launched in 2018, the first phase of the program, we intentionally designed it to be virtual, so that we wouldn't bring people together physically to do work together until after a few months.
Right.
And at the time, I can remember some colleagues saying, well, no, surely the first week must be together, it must be face to face. But I think we actually realised that the world was changing, and in a global organisation, you just can't jump on a plane to just meet up and get things going. You have to actually be confident enough to do it virtually. So we agreed we would do that, and it worked really well. And actually, it was quite interesting. I remember on the first residential event we had, after doing all this virtual work together, people actually almost forgotten they hadn't physically met. That was how close they'd become through webinars and Teams calls and so on.
Yes.
And then, of course, during COVID, that really accelerated. And the program that we had launched just before COVID really impacted us, and we had all the lockdowns, we actually kept that program running throughout COVID virtually. So that was really an interesting experience to see how we could achieve that.
Yeah, and really quite fortuitous that you'd sort of ironed out some of that technology and being familiar with technology before COVID hit, really.
Yes, I think that's right.
So tell me how your start point was to say, well, actually, no, this doesn't need to be face to face initially. We can start to build this virtually. So I suppose the first question, how did you identify who was going to be involved, and what did the key talent program look like in the beginning?
Well, so the design phase was quite critical, and finding the right partners to help us get the program launched. So just in terms of involvement, I involved one or two outside partners to help us, people I'd worked with in the past that were really skilled at running leadership programs in international settings. So bringing some outside support in with some of the experience that comes with that was important.
Right.
But also I wanted the program to make sure the program had credibility. So in other words, it wasn't just a program that Dole said was a good program, but we had credibility from a business school as well. I thought that was important for everybody. So we chose to partner with Carlsberg University to support us in delivering the program, and to also recognise that the program is being run at the right level. So they became very early on one of our key partners as well. And then we carefully designed the program with criteria for participants, so we could communicate that across the group. So, you know, when we were asking for nominees from across the group, what sort of individuals would be ideally suited to the program. So we've got really clear about that.
And who did the nominating, David?
So that's all done through our divisional heads of our businesses. So in partnership with me, I'll talk with them. We have a point in the year when we do our recruitment to the program, working with the divisional heads and their HR heads as well. And they will then discuss that next year's program with their senior team and discuss who have they got developing the business, who would be most suited to the program for the following year. So that's quite a key process, which is why we've always said that because the program is annual, people can take their time. They haven't got to, they're not under any pressure to put anybody into the program in one particular year, because they know it's always going to be there for them for the future.
So it's a little bit like an MBA, really.
It is in some respects. It is at that master's level of challenge, and Cranfield actually set it at that level with us.
Did they?
Okay. Yeah. So we do confirm that to people when they join the program, that you're going to be working at a master's level. And I think some of the experiences are at a master's level. If you were doing a dissertation, for example, or doing some research, it would be at an MBA or master's level.
And was there a situation where the senior teams locally would nominate, and then there was a selection process, or did everyone that got nominated get invited? Did everyone, you can nominate 2 people, you can nominate 2, this market can have 4? And how did you sort of determine who would ultimately take part in a given year?
So we were very clear at the outset how many people we felt we could accommodate on the program to do it well, to give the participants enough focus and the right level of experience. So I think that's important, to be really clear about how many people you feel you can properly accommodate and give them the quality of experience that's important. But also you need enough people on there so that they can work together and learn from each other as well. So there's a balance in there.
Yeah.
And then what I did then was to effectively allocate numbers on a pro rata basis to the divisions in our business. So depending on their size, how many people would they be able to put forward, so that it was, if you like, proportionate to the scale of that business. And this is actually really quite an important part of it, I think, because we didn't want this to be equally, in a sense, highly competitive, where people felt they would fail if they didn't get onto the program, because that's not the tone of the program. But we do need it to be for high performance and for people that are seen as people who can progress significantly in their careers with us. So a lot of that's through discussion, through making sure that all of the divisional heads and the HR teams have a really good understanding of the program. So when they're discussing potential nominees, they're really clear in their own minds about the sort of individuals that are suited to the program. And of course, that's got easier over time as people become more and more experienced and knowledgeable about the program. Yes. And then I will then meet with all of the proposed participants. So before we officially sign people up, I would meet with all of them. We've now evolved that process, so I involve another colleague in doing that with me as well. So we take it seriously. So we give it a lot of time at the outset. And actually, through that conversation, some people would self-select that this product maybe isn't for them. It may be a little bit too demanding in terms of time commitment, for example.
Right.
Just take a number of hours, every week. And it's just through an open discussion. And so by the time then we have people signed up to the program to join it, we have a very good retention rate through the program, because people have got a good level of awareness before they start.
Yes. So you've spelt out the expectations
That's right.
on both sides. And so tell us what. I mean, I'm guessing you've been doing this for 7 years now. I'm guessing it's evolved a bit over time. But can you give us a sort of paint a picture of what happens over the course of that year?
Certainly, yeah. So the team starts in the January each year, and they complete some profiling. So they do a brain profile, and I have one of my colleagues, David Harmon, from an organisation called the Coaching Team, who helps me with that section of the program, where everybody gets quite detailed feedback. We ask them to set clear objectives. Why do they want to be on the program? Why is it important for their career and their personal development? So we have quite a detailed one-to-one at the outset. Once we've done that launch, the group then go into teams of 6 or 7, where they work with Carlsberg University on a business simulation. Now, that's where they're running a virtual company for a few months.
Right.
So that's where they learn about financial measures and delivery, business strategy, and we have webinars on business strategy through that section as well. And then at the end of that first few months in the April, that's when we have our first residential. Right. So we bring everybody together for a week, and that's where they review the outcomes and the learnings from the business simulation. And they also then start to share their 360 feedback, which we've organised for them in that first few months. And we train them in coaching skills. So they start to coach each other on their own 360 feedback. So that's really quite a key part of the program.
Yeah.
And then during that residential, we have a detailed workshop on business strategy and innovation with one of the Cranfield faculty. And then we launched to the teams a real life business strategy project that the executive team in Dole has set. And that there normally will be 2 or 3 projects we divide up between the group. And then between the April and the end of September, they work on those projects, ready to present them back with their strategic recommendations in the October when we all come together in Madrid.
Right.
So that's quite a critical week for everybody when it culminates in a quite a significant experience for everybody. And then we have a graduation event.
And these are real strategic challenges that they're working on.
Absolute genuine business challenges that the board and the CEO are saying we really need these topics to be looked at. Just as though they were being looked at by some directors on the board and reporting back to the board. Exactly.
Right. Excellent. Okay, and then they all come together and present to each other or to the board, or
they present. So they present to the executive team and a group of senior managers. They have an audience of about 50 people they present to. So it's a big occasion for everybody. So they really have the opportunity to practice their presentation skills and their delivery to a large senior audience with quite a detailed Q&A in there as well. Then we have a graduation dinner, and then we have a follow-up with everybody in terms of their career plan and their future development plans. So they go back into their respective businesses then with clarity on their careers and their future development that they then discuss and agree that with their local business. So that career planning piece actually is really quite critical part of the program as well.
And what happens with the projects? How many of the projects that are presented, or the solutions, the strategic recommendations to the business challenges that the executive have outlined, how many get picked up and actually run with them?
Well, that varies each year. We've always said that the projects, as much as anything else, they're a vehicle for learning for the participants, and of course also a vehicle for learning for the business, because we get to hear what some fresh minds think about these questions, which might be to do with product or commercial questions or operational questions. So they really do vary each year. But to give you an example, this year the theme was all around AI. So we had 3 teams looking at different aspects of AI. One of the teams was looking at how do we actually manage AI in the future? How do we coordinate our efforts across this quite large organization and make sure we're sharing learning? So that was one of their questions. And one of their recommendations was that we should have an appointed AI champion or coordinator for the whole group to make sure we tie this together and do it in a coordinated way. And actually one of the team that made that recommendation has been appointed as that coordinator
to do that role
in this new newly created role. So that's just an example of where we do take the recommendations really seriously, and we'll move forward with them if we feel that actually they're really going to have positive impact.
Yeah, excellent. I can't believe we've not got very many minutes left. We've got about 3 minutes left, David. Tell me some of the key results of this. I know you've won awards with this, and that's great. So why have you won awards? What's this delivered for? I guess not just for the business, but for the individuals who've been part of it.
Well, we've had 120 individuals now completed the program. We have a 90% retention rate across that 7-year period with these high performers, which we're very happy about.
I was going to ask you that. And you've invested significantly in them as well.
That's right, and 35% of that cohort have been promoted either once or twice during that period. So I think what it's demonstrating is that we've got the right individuals coming on the program. It's certainly helping them with their careers. It's helping the business, of course, as well, because we are retaining and developing those talented individuals, and we are seeing the benefits of the projects that they do as well. Where we have opportunities then to take those ideas forward and implement them.
Yes.
So I think there's benefit for both the individual and for the business, and again, that was also a really important part of the strategy with the program.
Okay, and which are the awards that you've won, David?
We won the Business Culture Award for Best Large Business for Business Culture last year, and also the Brandon Hall Award we've won this year as well for for the impact of a talent program.
Right.
So yeah, we were really, really pleased and delighted to have that recognition.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well done with that. And the role of Cranfield, do they kind of audit and keep you? They kind of provide that sort of rigor. If you were talking about them sort of shaping it like an MBA almost.
That's part of their role, yes. I mean, they really are very good at making sure that the program, it is run to a high standard every year, that they're happy to endorse. So I think that's really important for us. And they bring their thinking to it as well, and make sure that the program is always current. When you're running these programs across a long period of time, you really want to make sure they keep current and relevant.
Yes.
And they help us do that, because obviously they're doing this all the time with other clients as well.
And what have been perhaps some of the challenges that you faced to get this off the ground and to keep it going?
Well, I think like any sort of big change program that requires commitment, it's communication. So making sure that that all of the key stakeholders and senior executives really understand the program and feel they can support it. So that communication piece and generating buy-in is really important. But I think that's something you have to keep doing as well on an ongoing basis. You can never take these things for granted, because everybody's busy. Everybody has competing demands with their time and their resources. So I think always making sure that the program is relevant. You keep updating it, keep tweaking it and adjusting it. Each year we make changes to make sure it continues to be relevant for the organisation. I think that's really important.
And clearly it's something that the exec feel is valuable, because you're in your 7th year of it. So
yes.
So you were saying that that retention is excellent in terms of those who've gone through the program. Does that also mean that when you come to when you need to fill a vacancy or fill a role at a senior level, you always look first internally, or do you or in fact do you always look internally to fill places?
Well,
or does nobody leave?
Yes, yeah, no, as a business, we have a strong preference for promoting internally. That was one of the reasons, again, why the Key Talent Programme was so much supported, because it helps with that thinking and that culture. So we will always look to see what we can do to ensure that people have been part of the programme, are supported in terms of their careers. So that is always the case. We always always remind ourselves of who's been on the programme every year. I present to the board each year with the list of participants, so it's kept very fresh in upper people's minds as well. So we do, and it's great to see that actually within our divisions as well, that they use the programme to develop their next cohort of leaders within a divisional level as well. So it's being really used to support their own local talent strategy. So I think that's really positive.
Yes, absolutely. We've run right out of time. In fact, we've run over, so I'm going to have to end the show there. But if there was just one very quick question in like 10 seconds flat, why should you do this? We've already touched on some of the reasons. If there was one thing that you want listeners to take away, David, as to why they should consider looking at this and listening to some of those learnings that you've outlined, what would it be?
I think take care of your future talent, hold on to your future talent, and create collaboration across the organisation, which is critical.
Lovely, excellent. It sounds like it's working wonders for you. So well done. Congratulations on your awards, and here's to some more in the years to come. And thank you very much, David Frost, for joining us today. Thank you for listening to Engage for Success Radio. Don't forget you can download or stream any of the great shows from our archive at any time. Simply visit engageforsuccess.org, which is where you can find out more about the movement, sign up for our weekly newsletters, and of course, download the 2025 report on the Employee Engagement Survey and Index. So thank you very much again, David. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye now.
Engage for Success Radio, raising the profile of employee engagement and shining a light on good practice for people who believe there's a better way to work.